Okay, we are back with our live coverage here at the Summit 2025 in Tempe, Arizona. And my next guest is Scott Danner, who is the EVP and Head of Legacy, very cool title, Head of Legacy at Steward Partners. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I keep looking down to his name tag. I told him, I know I have a good friend, Steve Danzer, and I'm like, do not flip-flop.
No, it's
Scott,
not me.
Scott,
it's not me, but Steve sounds like a good dude.
He's a solid guy. Okay, Scott, you wrote a book. Oh, we have the book right there. Let's show the folks. Freedom Street. Awesome name, awesome title. I was going to ask you, I mean, I'm sure a lot of beaches look that way. Is this the Hamptons?
No, it's very similar to Virginia Beach, where I would walk to the beach all the time.
Okay.
I don't know where the picture was actually taken, but it reminded me of the beaches that I would walk to as a kid. So we just grew up around the beaches in Virginia Beach, and so it was something that freedom was always that walk to the ocean.
It's awesome, and very appropriate for what you talk about here. So I know there are a few things we want to cover, but tell us about the book first. Why did you write it, and who is it for?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to get your own story out to some extent. It's a bit therapeutic. So part of it was getting the story out to people, but who it's for are advisors in their next chapter. So it was something I was recognizing on a regular basis that next chapter was challenging for so many advisors, whether it's the last chapter, whether it's the almost last chapter, and impact was the word that kept coming back. So I just put some strategies, some things that could help us get our impact outside of the business, so that when you sell, if you merge, you have something else to kind of live on.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Okay, so let's pivot to what we were talking about off camera and share it with the audience. So obviously what we talk about here is going RIA. And I got to compile a list, but I think there's dozens and dozens of great reasons to go RIA. A higher payout is a great one, of course, but there's so many more than that. So let's talk about let's say you have an advisor, maybe he's been in the industry for 30 years, maybe he's 57 years old, maybe kind of like me, and you've built a practice, and now you've built a business. So I run Sovereign, as I think you know, so we're at the point where we've got to think about what's going to happen next. Because as much as I would love to, I'm not going to live forever. But I want Sovereign to live forever. And there's a few different ways to do this. And reason number 397 why I love the RIA space is for that swan song, you have, I would argue, more options and also a better chance for better monetization. Do you think so?
I agree. I think that having the RIA behind your name and building something with flexibility and opportunity, there are some things that add to valuation. Even the process of transitioning platforms to the next gen, or externally, if you decided to go with an outside custodian or something, there's so much more flexibility with options on the RIA platform that it's definitely something that adds value to the bottom line and can add value to your choices.
Right, and it's a real enterprise as opposed to a practice, right? I would say that's the real big difference of having your own ADV or access to one, I suppose, too. That's a little bit different than being still a captive agent for all intents and purposes at one of the wirehouses. Yeah?
I think it's a level of freedom.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a level of freedom. There's a lot of different versions of our business out there, but the RIA platform provides a level of freedom that's hard to match.
Without question. All right, so let's talk about the different ways someone can have their swan song. What are they?
So I think as you get to the last chapter, as I call it a lot, the last chapter is something that you want to evaluate how you do that. Maybe you have the internal team already and you want to pass it down to them, but affording that is often a challenge. So finding the right way to do that internally is always a great option. Another option is to obviously go to market and test the open market and see what's out there. And there's a lot of companies that are aggregating, that are bringing in, that are allowing you to still survive as your entity, but within a larger umbrella. And then last but not least is obviously private equity, which is another way that there's outside investors that can come in and kind of subsidize and help with maybe an internal transition or even an external opportunity if that's the way that you want to go. So there's so many ways to do it. It's really up to you to find what works for your business and your culture, because culture is everything. That's what makes you and your business who it is.
Without question, and we talk about this a lot on goRIA, and it comes up with succession plans, it comes up with technology. There isn't so much like the best tech stack or the best succession plan, but there is the best tech stack, there is the best succession plan for you and your firm. How do you start even with that process on what's right for me, internal versus go in with an aggregator versus a full-on PE sale?
I think you
Where
have
do I
to
start?
I think you have to identify what makes you who you are. So many times there's no internal audit of your own practice or your own business. So what are the very things that make you special? What are the things that you could maybe replicate or offload? And what are the things that you have to continue to do to make the culture what it is, both for your internal employees and people on the outside, for your clients that you're serving? You've got to make sure the experience stays the same. So identifying what those things are first will help you better evaluate where and what those options are on the other side. If you have a particular way you manage money or a particular way that you serve clients in a unique niche, and you're trying to go to a shop that's going to make you a cookie cutter brand, it's going to be really hard for you to survive in that environment. And if you same thing, if you have an internal team who can't afford to buy you and you don't have the funding to make that work, these are big challenges that exist in our industry. We have to find ways to solve that. But the key is knowing who you are, what you stand for, what's most important about that brand, and then building from there.
Yep. So that's really where we came to at Sovereign, right? So we're kind of going the internal succession route, and what I decided to do, against a lot of people's advice, including Joe Duran, we had this conversation,
Right.
Was just to do seller financing. Because I'm not ready to leave the firm yet. Like, I really love it, but I need to start cultivating that next gen that loves it as much as I love it. And there's no way to love a firm without equity. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, what works for you works for you. I don't love the idea of taking on the risk and transitioning.
I know.
So that
Everyone's
seems
been
like
telling me
lose-lose
that,
to
but
me.
I know.
But I mean, it also is an opportunity. If that's what you want to do,
Yeah.
then this is your business. It's the way you want to build it. It's the way you want to sell it. So
Right.
seller financing is just a little bit more dangerous to me, and that's the risk and the reward that we all weigh.
Yep.
The same thing though is you do have the capabilities to set the course. You do have the ability to stay in control. And giving up control is the biggest challenge that people have as they look at that next chapter.
So that's a perfect segue. So in your book, we were talking about this. You were talking about how you manage sort of the EQ of someone like me that just can't get rid of his baby, right? How do you help people with that?
So the most important thing is we have to identify what makes you tick and what the next chapter looks like. I can't tell you how many times people come to me and they say, I live and work for my family. I want more time with my family. And then we talk and they're not doing anything with their family. All they're doing is spending all their time at work.
Yeah, right.
And so the key is to evaluate, are you living towards your values? When you leave this earth, are you happy with the result that you've put in? If we evaluate things from the back to the front there, if we look at the end vision and work our way backwards, a lot of times the results aren't as connected as people think they are. So the EQ side is, how do we want to impact the world? How do we want to impact the community? How do we want to impact our clients and the people that work with us? And are we doing it the right way now? And so if we can take inventory and audit that, we can usually figure out that EQ side of what makes you tick. And I don't care how hard or how strong the personality is, there's always an answer in there that we can work towards.
I love that. And as an advisor, we talk about that all the time with clients. It's not just the numbers, but it's the behavioral finance side of things. And it sounds like that's what you're getting at from the exit strategy side of things as well, yes?
Yeah, it's amazing how when we execute the very things we do with clients every single day on our own businesses,
Right.
it works.
Yeah.
Because you're all great advisors. You do this every day, but so many times we don't execute this on our own practices. We don't practice what we preach. So when we apply the same things, if a client walks in and says, I need to figure out what I'm gonna do, and the wife's like, I don't know what he's gonna do when he retires, and he's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do when I retire, you work with him and coach him to figure it out.
Yeah.
The reality is, nobody really wants to retire in this business. They wanna kind of continue to stay engaged, share their wisdom. There's lots of ways to do that. So
Yes.
the key is to figure out how to do that and what makes it most effective and efficient for you.
All right, I tell you what, that's a fantastic place to put a pin in it for today. So Scott Danner, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
A real pleasure. I was looking forward to this, by the way. Okay, real good. So we have 2 more segments left for the day. So stay tuned with us for our continued coverage of the Summit 2025, brought to you by goRIA, fueled by Investment News. I'll be back in 35 minutes.